Hello and welcome to the GOP debate. I'm your host, Speaker James Barry. And tonight we are joined by Thomas E. Dewey, the press secretary for the Scott administration, and former President Chris Parrish. Who would like to go first for their opening statement?
I'll let the press secretary go first.
Alrighty.
All right, so I believe you should vote for Dewey for a strong leadership.
Does that complete your opening statement?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Former President Chris Parrish, now to you.
I think we should vote for, Chris Parrish because he is strong leadership. He was proven strong leadership. And with the recent passage of the, Space Force, after it got vetoed and trash talked, it was eventually added. So obviously I know what I'm doing, no more in advance than the entirety of the Scott administration. So I think you should vote me for the nominee of the Republican Party.
All right, thank you very, very much. Now, moving on to the topics for tonight. The first topic will include our economy. Now, former President Chris Parrish, do you believe that the United States should remain as a mixed market economy, or do you think we should be leaning more socialist or capitalist ideals for our economy and its purpose?
I believe it needs to be mixed market. That's been proven with every great economy that's how it works best. Yeah, you can look at China and be like, well, a not so mixed market economy does well too, but not really. They got like 1 billion people over there, and it's still not as good as America. So we need to keep the mixed markets. I think we need to be laissez-faire, which means hands off the business, pretty much. But I think we need to work on some aspects because we're not 100% free markets, and there is some limitations that we put on. We've put limitations on oil companies and electric companies so that they can't become giant trust and monopolies on people, and yet have done nothing in the medical field, which I felt passionate about, that we need to fix and not just throw money at it as other organizations and politicians will tell you.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Thomas E. Dewey. The question once again is, do you think that the United States should remain its economy with the mixed market, or do you think that we should be leaning towards more capitalist or socialist values?
I believe in this country we should allow a free market economy, and we need more capitalistic ideals in our economy. Because I believe 100% freer the market, freer the people.
All right. Moving on to the next.
Wait, may I make a comment on that real quick?
All righty, go ahead.
So a free market also doesn't work, as we've seen. We should know this already. Two extremes don't work. Free markets and controlled markets are not okay. Free markets don't allow us to have firehouses, police stations, or roads, electric lines, all of that good stuff that are socialistic parts of the economy that are controlled by the government. If we let those go through, my neighbor's house is going to be burning down. They don't have a coverage plan by a firefighting house. And if it starts to spread over to mine, now I have to call on the firefighters and use my plan to cover my house because my neighbor didn't have it. So saying we need 100% free market is irresponsible. I know it's not the most Republican or right-wing thing to say, but it's the truth.
Press Secretary Dewey, would you like to rebuttal this, or would you like to move on?
Yeah. Hold up. Let me think for a second.
Time is ticking.
Of course, the opponent is probably looking up what to say.
Nah.
Okay, moving on. Looking at our economy and how for the public versus private sector is ran, our public healthcare quality is 69%. Nice. While our private healthcare quality is 85.2%, and it's increasing while the public healthcare is decreasing. Do you think that we should be taking steps to privatize more of our healthcare, or research into funding more of the public part of the healthcare system that we have today? Thomas E. Dewey, this question goes to you first.
I think we should privatize more healthcare.
Okay, moving on to former President Chris Parrish.
I would say we need to privatize more, but the issue is we have an issue with our public health care. Putting more people on private plans, yes, that will take some load off, which we need to do. But we also need to improve a public health care facility as well. We're not a third world country, so we shouldn't be having third world care in our hospitals. It's unacceptable. And I believe if there's anything to be ashamed of, it's probably one of the biggest things we should be ashamed of as a country is how bad we've got uh, with that aspect of our economy and our social aspects. If we're going to fund it, we should fund it well. Not meaning funding it increased, just putting the money in the right spots. So it's something we need to work on bipartisanly.
Thank you. Moving on. Former President Parrish, this question goes to you first. Do you think that the way that our corporations are ran, that they should be ran by the workers who control the mean of production? Or do you think that the person who owns the company, aka the CEO, should be the one that calls the shots on how the marketing and production is made?
I would say, the CEOs and the corporate leaders are the ones who should have the final say. After all, it's their business. They gave the opportunity to those workers to even have a job or employment or anything like that. But I also think, just because they are, the owner of the company does not mean that they shouldn't listen to their unions and stuff, but they shouldn't have their hands bound by their unions, which we see too much of, and it's wrong. Workers are forced into labor unions that fight against their bosses, and it does nothing beneficial to the company except cause a disconnect from the top employees to the bottom employees.
Alrighty. Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey, the same question goes to you. And if you need a repeat of the question is, do you think that the means of production should be controlled by the workers who use them? Or should the means of production be controlled by the CEOs who start up the company and they are the face of the company? That's roughly in the same wording that I gave to Ms. Parrish.
I believe the CEO and corporate leaders should control the means of the production.
Alrighty. Seeing as that will be covering our economy section of today, now we're going to be moving on to our foreign policy and basics on foreign policy, yada yada yada. You know the rest. Seeing as this administration has done horrendous things dealing with foreign relations and what have you, what would be your first step of action to undo the havoc that Eric Scott has done to the economy. Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey, this question goes to you first.
Okay, so first of all, I believe letting Israel into NATO was a bad decision since Israel isn't even in Europe, and I believe that we should have more peace talks with Russia and try making peace with all of their entire alliance and all that. And we just need to start making peace with these countries.
Alrighty, thank you. Former President Chris Parrish, this question goes to you.
I'm just going to start off by saying the biggest issue right now with foreign relations is Russia, 100% hands down. And it wasn't that way when I was the vice president. Yes, there's tension there, but it's nowhere near as bad as it is now. And that's on the part of Eric Scott releasing documents that I did make jokes that were based off of real plans that we had, but we never took seriously. We never did them. We never went through with them, and it really hurt our relations with Russia. And I've heard things from people within his cabinet that it just hasn't worked out with Russia, and they've gotten more angry with us. And now they believe we murdered the president. And this all comes over a joke and some trolling, which I like to be joke around sometimes, but I guess maybe it wasn't the right subject to joke around about. And so I think my first step, even as president, would probably be try and meet with the current Russian president and try and mend the relations, because we can't continue on like that. Because as we see now, there's an entire group of nations that don't want to cooperate with us, that were willing to trade with us before, and it's going to lead to another Cold War if it doesn't get fixed. So, and I think me being part of the problem may be an issue, but I believe it might also be a good way to solve the issue, to clear it up with the Russian government.
Alrighty. The next question I have is, do you think that America should be focusing on more interventionist policies, or staying the same as the current world leader we are today? Or do you think we should be taking steps to be more isolationist? Former President Chris Parrish, this question goes to you first.
I would say part of our issues with our foreign relations is that we like to stick our nose in everything. Big stick policy in the world's police is what we've been known as, and I think we need to take a step back from that role and kind of mend relations, because we could still be a world leader and help out in situations without, just because somebody in Cambodia shot a government official in Laos does not mean we need to get involved in that situation. If it gets bad enough, yes, we do need to hop in, like with the atrocities that happened to the Jews in World War II. But I think we still need to take a step back and worry about ourselves, because we have issues in our country. I mean, you got places like Chicago and Baltimore where there's people murdering each other like crazy. And probably, I believe, there's more deaths probably than we're having over there in other countries, and that's not okay. So I think we need to focus more on the U.S. Before we worry about those other countries.
The same question goes to you, Mr. Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey. And if you need the question again, the question is, do you think America in the modern day should be focusing on more interventionist policies, staying the same where we are right now, or do you think we should be focusing on more isolationist values?
I believe that we should start, stop sticking our nose in like people's other countries' businesses, and we need to start putting America first above other countries and start focusing on the American people instead of like the Russian people, or stop focusing on other countries' people and start trying to help our country more. Yeah.
All right, that'll be all on our foreign policy topic. Moving on to civil and social issues. Our first question for tonight is, with the ever growing movement of leftism, LGBTQ plus, and everything that goes along that agrees with some form of the left hand side of the political spectrum, what are your thoughts on this, and do you think that it is a threat to American society today? Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey, this question goes to you first.
First of all, I believe all men are created equal, and in this country, leftism is becoming a growing problem and such, but we also shouldn't be banning gay marriage, or taking away human rights of gay individuals or any of those people. Since we should separate religion and state, we shouldn't be focusing on complete Christian values and stuff. So, yeah.
Thank you. Former President Chris Parrish, the question goes to you, and if you need a repeat of the question, just ask me.
Can I get a repeat of the question, please?
Alrighty. So with the growing with the growth of leftism and LGBTQ plus in the United States, do you see this as a possible problem from the left side of the political spectrum, and do you think that Republicans should be making a move to slow this process down or even put an end to this? I'm sorry if it sounds different. I'm trying to word it the best I can to make it sound the same.
Well, tough question. I like it. I don't think leftism is a problem. I think radical leftism is the issue, and I'm sure my opponent would agree with that. It's come to the point where they want to silence other people's views just because I don't believe in, the new ways of thinking, and what people find acceptable does not mean that I'm an evil person, does not mean I'm doing wrong, does not mean I should be canceled. That's the issue. I have no issue with LGBTQ people. I have no hate, no disgust, none of that for them. I just think that they have gotten toxic with their movement. Yes, you guys faced issues in the past, but it was a learning for a lot of people because they weren't brought up that way. And the way that they have to carry it out is being hateful to the people who are trying to accept them. And I think that's unacceptable. Just because I mix up somebody's pronouns doesn't mean I'm being hateful, spiteful, rude, and disrespectful. I just didn't know. If, I use a slur that was acceptable by other people, for gay men, I'm not trying to be hateful. I was using it in a joking manner. I think it's still wrong, but it's not to the point where I should be canceled and unredeemable because I just don't know better. So I think it's a learning issue. I don't think we need to teach wokeism like it is in school. I just think that we need to have more respect from both sides because it's gotten bad with the hate. Polarization has just become an issue. That's all I have to say about that topic. Don't want to go any further into it.
Alrighty, thank you so much for your response. Bringing in a bit of real life into this. With the government passing the critical race theory federal government? Do you think it's federal speech, or do you think that it's worth being taught in schools and that students should be forced to learn about this? Former President Chris Parrish, goes to you first.
Parrish administration executive order number 3. Critical race has no place in our schools. Okay. You can teach about, the issues that the blame. Sure, there is people, everybody's line, family ancestors that have done something or atrocious, but we shouldn't be teaching our kids that because 300 ago, 400 years ago, your great grandpa, grandma was a slave owner. It's not okay. I mean, that's why I banned it. I think I took away the funding for schools that do it, school districts. So pretty much banned it. There's not much I can do without overreaching, because I don't want to do that, because I believe in small government, not big government. There's not much more to say about it, Just Parrish administration, executive order number 3. Read it. I did it for my 2 months of taking over after Shapiro resigned. I did it, and it was good.
All right, thank you. Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey, the question goes to you. If you need a repeat of the question, just ask me.
I believe I completely agree with Chris Parrish on this, and I believe that racial theory has no place in our education system, and I believe no one should feel guilty over what their ancestors did hundreds of years ago, and no white American should have to feel any kind of guilt for what their great grandpas did, to black people and stuff. They shouldn't have to feel guilt for that.
All right, thank you. Next question will be about school system, since we're already talking about that. Do you think that the current education system in America is working out just fine, or do you think that we should be reforming it to make it more individualistic, where students can pick what subjects they can learn better and based on students' own interests than a regulated core system that we currently use? Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey, this question goes to you first.
I think we should be teaching our American youth more individualistic values and let them choose certain stuff of like that. And I believe that we need to stop, teaching our American youth to be like robots and listen and not have any individual freedom.
All right, thank you. Former President Chris Parrish, the question goes to you. If you need a repeat, just ask me.
I won't be necessary this time. So, as everybody knows, I'm a big advocate for education. Despite my more conservative views, that's one of my more left-leaning views, is that we need to fund it better, organize it better. We pushed through universal preschool. It passed. It stood. But then, unfortunately, this recent administration pulled it away, which it allowed kids to be more advanced in the start. So when they're going into the universal preschool, that guarantees that every kid has the chance to go to preschool. That allows them to get an early head start on reading, basic skills, get them ready for kindergarten that are necessary, and it pays off because now we don't have to pay for literacy programs for kids that are behind when they get into kindergarten. So with that, yes. Also with education, we have I've been talking about a bill I've been working on for a couple of years now, trying to fix the curriculum issues, and I'm trying to find a good way to make it. So it should be before this term ends, as a representative that I am now. But I want to fix it so we're not so focused on standardized tests, because standardized kids don't achieve greatness. I mean, if we're not allowed to imagine what we want to do, like, we should be focusing on forcing kids into the STEM field, because that's not everything. If there's no, if there's STEM field, then who do we have in politics? Who do we have doing basic work skills like cashiering or fast food cooking? If we don't have people, working trade jobs, like, there's an issue there. We need to stop stigmatizing anything that's STEM. STEM is very important, but it's not everything. So we need to work on that. I'm working on it already. Taking me longer than I thought, because it's hard to do without trying to overreach as the federal government.
All right. Thank you for your response. Next question will be, do you think that America should be focusing more on traditional college-based degrees, or do you think that American students should be more focused on going into the trades and learning more about what type of trades there are for career paths? Former President Parrish, this question goes to you.
I'm going to just start off and say no. There are some degrees that we don't need to be allowing for so many colleges to have, because there's not much people can do with a theater degree if they don't get a theater spot. In a theater acting, there's no reason for gender studies. It's really nothing. Philosophy, the only thing that you learn from philosophy or jobs you can get is writing books or becoming a philosophy professor, pretty much. So I think that we need to, I don't know, it's hard to say what we can, I don't want to force colleges to not offer those, because there's jobs out there for those things, but we also need to not, talk trash about a plumber or somebody that operates on garbage trucks and forklifts and other things. Those are valuable skills that are important. I mean, without those jobs, those people who are doctors and those people that are lawyers can't do those on their own most of the time. So without those people, we have a non-functioning society. So I think we need to push fund technical schools, which I believe some members of Congress did already, and a lot of states opted into the program. But it doesn't need to be stigmatized. Like, it's okay if you're a plumber. That is great if you're able to do that. But we can also completely switch over to trades, because with a bunch of people being trades, then who's going to be your lawyers? Who's going to be your doctors? So I think we just accept that it needs to be balanced. And not everybody needs to go to technical school or college. There's going to be people who are just not mentally capable of passing through that. I mean, that's okay. That's how society works. But it doesn't mean you can't stop shooting for better education. It just means that those degrees are not, that don't matter to you. So it's just to stop stigmatizing where people go after they leave high school, because we need them either way.
All right, thank you for your response. Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey, the same question goes to you. If you need a repeat of the question, just ask me.
So I think that every job is equally valuable, and that every job has a place in America. But I do think degrees like gender studies and the more those kinds of degrees should uh most students shouldn't focus that, since the degree is useless. Uh, and I believe that you know like that every American should follow whatever job or occupation that they want that they want the most, and that no and it needs to be balanced. So I agree with Parrish that it needs to be balanced.
Alrighty, thank you for your response. Moving on to our next topic will be the environment. Now, I myself, as Speaker James Barry, have, along with many other members of Congress, have banned the use of diesel locomotives and replacing them with their former steam locomotive counterparts. Do you think that this act should be repealed and amended to bring back diesel locomotives for the sake of the transportation, or do you think that for the sake of the economy, it should remain with just steam engines? Former President Chris Parrish, I believe this question goes to you first. I'm not entirely sure.
I believe it goes to my opponent this time.
Alrighty,
Mr. Dewey.
thank you. Uh, Thomas E. Dewey, this question goes to you first. If you need a repeat, just let me know.
Could you repeat the question?
Alrighty. So, myself, along with many other members of Congress, have made it to where steam locomotives are now the predominant main use of rail transportation in America, as it has a major benefit on the environment over the previous diesel counterparts. Do you think that this should remain the way that it is ran, or do you think that we should be going back to the diesel locomotives for the sake of efficiency over environment?
I think that it shouldn't be repealed, and that we should keep it, since the environment is a vital part of America.
All right, short and sweet. I like it. Former President Chris Parrish, the question goes to you.
I know this is not a popular opinion, but I don't believe that is better for the environment. Yes, you hear the word steam. Oh, fantastic. Steam is great. Can't be that bad. But what's generating that steam? Most of the time, it's going to be, uh, you know, coal, which coal is worse than petroleum for the environment when burned. Coal mines are worse than petroleum oil. Yeah, I mean, there's oil spills, which could be potentially bad, but I don't think that act needs to go through, and I believe it was a big overreach, and that's kind of the reason why I didn't take part in it. Um, I believe it. I believe it was made in good intentions, but I don't believe everybody researched it well enough. I respect the people that uh, are fans of the trains of steam, but when you look at the numbers, I believe like coal is like 2 times as bad as oil. Um, so I just think it's not necessary. It's I wouldn't say I would go out and repeal it, but I'm not saying if it comes up, I might remove it. I might not. It just depends on uh, if more facts are brought to me. Of course, that would come from the advice of my cabinet, because I'm kind of iffy on that issue, which I'm not afraid to admit. I'm not well versed in that, so I'm not going to speak on it too much, which I think is a respectable thing to do.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for your response. Moving on to the next question. Um, with even though the efficiency of coal and oil is extremely high, do you think that America should be more focusing on renewable uh, energy, such as hydroelectricity, atomic energy, um, wind, and solar? Or do you think that we should still be using coal and oil for the predominant source of energy in the United States? Former President Chris Parrish, this question goes to you first.
Okay, so the biggest debate right now is should we just ditch oil and move on to these renewable sources? My answer: hell fucking no. We should slowly move to renewable sources, but to outright ditch it is irresponsible, deadly, and overall an economy killer too. So I think we need to keep taking steps forward into it. I do think we need to improve and start pushing out this more often. Like nuclear energy and hydroelectric, we have seen are very, very, very efficient. Solar power is starting to catch up, but it's not there yet. Um, so I think we need to push out the renewable sources that do work um, before we just close out all the other ones. We shouldn't be getting rid of all these carbon-based cars in California or whatever that use oil because they're non-renewable, because now you're forcing people into a situation that doesn't work. And let me just tell you, your electric cars, they still run on oil most of the time because they're coming from some type of power plant. So, it's just, we got to step into it slowly, not even slowly, just step in it with the times. You don't rush it, and don't wait too long, because we can't wait either. We see the numbers. Climate change is real. It's not as bad as the alarmists are saying, but it is an issue that will come up in the future, um, to the point where we need to act fast. And I think we just need to act smart with it. Like I said earlier, it's not good to have polarization on these issues that are too extreme on both ends, because it doesn't help. So we need to work on it slowly. That's all I'm gonna say. But work on it swiftly still. I know it's oxymoronic, but that's kind of the thing. Find a great balance. Everything in life is great with balance. I'll give the floor to my opponent now.
All right, Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey, the question goes to you. If you need a repeat, just ask me.
Okay, so I believe that we need to start slowly moving towards renewable energy, and that we should, start focusing on becoming more environmentally friendly with the energy we use. But we can't just completely stop at once. Stop using oil and those kinds of energies. We shouldn't just completely stop using them all at once.
Alrighty, thank you. Moving on to our last question for the debate tonight. Seeing as climate control and the climate change is a real thing, even though it is not what alarmists say it is. Do you think that America should be the main player going into this climate change reaction, or do you think that it should be a world team together working to solve climate change once and for all? For, Press Secretary Thomas E. Dewey, the question goes to you.
I believe that the entire world should work as one team to combat climate change and try to fix the problem.
All right. Thank you. Former President Chris Parrish, the question goes to you.
So, like I said, I believe that we need to work on it, but I don't think that we're the number one cause of it. If you look at the data, there is so many countries that are way worse than us, and I think, yeah, maybe pushing ourselves as like the world police, we need to also step up and take charge. But at what cost? Do we screw everybody over to accomplish it? Do we stop letting people have children? Do we start limiting people's food intakes? Start limiting meat? No, we just need to find alternatives that work for us without forcing anybody's hands. Because listen, if there's a better way to make meat without, having to have all these cows farting up in the fields, shit, maybe I might try it. But until the technology, till those new ideas, new inventions are there, there's nothing we can do. I mean, nothing we can do that will work well for everybody without causing issues. So I think we need to just keep working, keep funding these scientists. I mean, yes, these alarmists are getting out of hand with how far they want to push it. They're pushing it to an extreme where no one wants to do it. So we need to just tell the alarmists, like, calm it down and just also listen, because they're not listening to the science either. But I also feel us as Republicans have not listened as well. We need to listen, but listen in the right way. We need to make small steps. Not small steps to the point where climate change comes up and bites us in the ass, but we need to step up and start moving in the right direction, not just staying idle. And I think that's the issue right now, is whether we stay idle or move forward. That's all I'll say on that topic.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for tuning into the GOP debate tonight. Former President Chris Parrish, any closing statements for us?
I just want to thank everybody that came out tonight. And I hope you vote Chris Parrish for president. Make him the nominee of the GOP, and vote him for president, because, listen, I want to show you that, yes, I can be an awesome VP. Yes, I can be an awesome congressman. But yes, I can also be a great president, that I've already shown with the big support that I've gotten from my first 3 executive orders as a president for 2 months. So get out there, vote Parrish, and let's make a difference. Let's make change. The right way. That's it.